Yeah, so what's up guys? Today tutaongelea kuhusu forms in HTML. So yeah, let's start. So form ni nini? Form ni ile stuff inatumika kusubmit data to a server. Tuseme for example, a login page, that is an example of a form. Unaweka username and let's say your password and then una hit submit, inaenda to the server. When you want to log in, you have to interact with the form. Maybe when you want to collect data, for example, unafanya survey, you want to collect data, the people's age, their date of birth, nini, all these are forms. Kila mtu anajua form ni nini, si ndio? So how do we create forms in HTML? So let us start. So lazima kwanza you use the form element. So I'm going to write form, form element, closing tag na opening tag na closing tag, and then hapa sasa niteka hizo the labels and the various inputs of data that I want to take. For example, if I want to take a username data, hiyo ni text, so the input type will be text. So nitakuja niandike hapo the input element and then the type attribute type is equals to text because username ni text, si ndio? So nikiclose hivyo and then I hit save. As you can see here, kuna the input box, but I need a label that's going to tell us, hey, hapa kwa hii input ni uweke username and not your password and not anything else. So I'm going to create a label hapa juu, and that label is going to be called username. So as you can see, there is this username na it's associated input box yake, input field yake, but then I have to connect this label with this input. Kuna some screens ukiresize nini hizi alignment ya the label and the input field zinaweza kuwa disoriented, so the user anafaa like ajue for better interactivity or with the form lazima uassociate the label and the input field. So hapa ndo uzi associate, utatumia the for attribute, utasema for username username na hapa id is equals to username. Tunaona zote ni the same, username. So ukiclick save, when I click hapa kwa username, as you can see automatically hapa inaanza kublink because they are connected. Another way of connecting them I will show you. So let's create another input field ya tuseme password. So let me put break. Hii break ina sema the next line ikue hapo chini. So label, I want a label ya password, label called password. I want a label called password na nataka kuweka input field yake. So kama sitaki kuziconnect na hii for na id, what I'm going to do ni hapa ndani I'm going to add its input. Tunaona hiyo input element yake imeenclosiwa na hii label. Ideally inamaanisha hii label ya password iko connected na this input field. So input type password, input alafu type attribute, type is equals to, because this is password, I'm going to say password. So yeah, as you can see nikiclick hapa automatically inaanza kublink, they are connected na sijatumia hiyo for na the id attribute. So the password nikikuja hapa, as you can see automatically inakuja ni hizo dot na because the type ni password. So yeah, that is just the basic ya forms, and I'm going to add another button called submit button. So I'm going to say input type is equals to submit, and the value hiyo jina itajanika kwa hiyo button ni submit. Let me say submit in capital. As you can see, this is our submit button. So there are other attributes zenye nataka kuongelea. So at first kuna hii attribute inaitwa action, and the action attribute, it connects this form with the PHP ama the server of where the form is going. Unajua ideally ukiclick submit, what happens is your form inaenda somewhere. Unaona, tuseme for example I created an analogy here. Let me just open here. So tuseme this is the front end design, this is my website na huku ni backend, si ndio? Sasa we ni user umekuja kutumia website yangu yenye mimi nimecreate, so utaweka your login information, your username and your password. So ukifinya submit, hiyo information inaenda wapi? Inaenda to my backend, to my server, si ndio? So hiyo information itaenda through a protocol known as HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Itafika hapo kwa my server, na kwa server yangu nimefanya some backend programming ya PHP ya
What?
BHP nini ya PHP sana. Hiyo backend yangu nimecode na PHP. Nitadetermine hiyo data yenye umetuma imekuja na with method. Kuna method attribute inaitwa post ama get, imekuja na post. Nione what URL is this data from, nione hii URL, hii data imetoka from the login, whatever login page. So hiyo PHP ita analyze kama hiyo URL ni ya login page, execute using code 1. Unaona, meaning kama for example, kama hiyo username na password ni correct, hiyo PHP itasend a response of which itakuleta to the home page. Unaona, ukisha login hapo umeka correct username na password, si kama hizo details ni correct, inaendanga to the next page, that is the home page, ndio unaweza interact. Kama si correct, itakwambia username and password correct. So hiyo inafanywa at the backend, unacheki the backend, whatever the backend processing ya kuangalia kama hizo valid inputs ni the correct. Umenipata? So I hope umepata a brief understanding of what happens when you submit a form. For example, your login form, umeona how it goes through HTTP to the server, how it's processed by the backend using a PHP or a server-side scripting, na ikisha process hiyo information yenye umetuma, it sends a response, and that response depends on the data yenye umesema. For example, kama umetuma hii username na password na ni correct, a response will send, which it is welcome, the home page, home about us. Now you can interact with the services ama with my website. So I want to talk about the method attribute. Kuna a post method na get method. So hapa kuna mtu anaitwa Brayo. So Brayo tuseme ni kama haka hivi, unacheki. So ukitumia hiyo data, ukitumia get method haiko encrypted, unlike post method. Get method, it is not secure, unaona. So that is why we use the post method. Post method, it is efficient to send data which is sensitive data ni kama password, unaona, data which is sensitive, credit card information, anything that is sensitive to the user, we use the post method, ndio mtu kama Brayo asiweze kuhakio information. And yeah, so this is you interacting with my website. You put in your data, you send with the method post, ndio Brayo asiweze kuhakio information yako through the internet. It gets into my server in the backend, which I've coded with my PHP server script, inaangalia that data, then now it determines what actions to take. And in this case, if the username and password is correct, it sends you into the landing page, the home page. Yeah, this is me. I just had to include the name Handsome. So anyway, I hope get your point. Yeah, the process of how it happens. So let us go back into our code and try to understand. So hapa tumesema kuna hiyo action, and the action is sasa uteka your link to your PHP. Unaona? So sasa hivi sitaki tufanye PHP link.php. So hii form ikisubmitiwa, ukiclick submit, itaenda kwa this PHP, so that itakuwa processed hapo na hiyo PHP server code yako, unaona. And then there's a method attribute. This method attribute, kuna, as you can see, kuna get na post, na nimekwambia post, it is good to send sensitive data like your password through this type of the method, the post method. Sasa, so those are the attributes na hapo kwa form. So I hope you understand the basic of action na the method attribute. But now, since we are not sending any data, we are not going to use them. I just wanted you to get a brief understanding. So I want to show you other attributes that are possible in a form. Kuna attribute kama max length, and this max length, I can say kwa username, the user should not put max. So kwa max length, I can dictate like the amount of characters that the user can use. Tuseme nimesema kama 4 characters, so the user will not submit anything that is more than 4 characters. Unaona, that is the the max length. So if I try to, let's say, put, as you can see, I cannot even type more than 4 characters because the max length it's 4. Now I can also add min length, the same, the minimum amount of characters that you can use. Tuseme kama min length nimesema ni 4, and then I type 2 characters and I want to submit, let's say 2 characters and I want to submit. Let me say, wait, min length is equals to 4. As you can see, imekataa, please lengthen this text to 4 characters or more. So hiyo ndio hiyo min length. You cannot submit this username if it has a mean length of 4 characters. Hiyo umeget a basic understanding ya mean na max length. So there's other attributes which you can use kama autofocus, autocomplete. These are all attributes you can use on your HTML form. Tuseme kama autofocus. So hii itafocus on your, for example, so umekama hapa hivi ukitaka tuseme unataka kusubmit, as you can see hii nini hapa hauwezi, inaji highlight yenyewe, unaona. Wacha nifanye kwa password so that you can see. Wacha nitoe hapa kwa hiyo autofocus, tuseme ina focus kwa hiyo input yenye ni kama tuseme the required whatever. So wacha niseme hapa password ni autofocus, autofocus, and I click save. So as you can see hapa ndo image highlight hapa yenyewe, haija highlight ingine. So there's also an attribute, by the way hizi attributes zenye hazina equals, kama unaona hii type iko na hii is equals to password, hizi zenye ziko peke yake zinaitwa boolean attributes, ziko tu peke yake. Kuna kama autofocus na required, this is a boolean attribute required. So hii required, I cannot submit this form if I've not, kama sijaweka password. Nikijaribu kusubmit kama sijaweka, itaniambia please input this field, kwa sababu tumeka hii required. It is a must we put in value to this field. So those are just basic attributes za forms. You can also put in other inputs. Tuseme for example kama ilikuanga form ya tuseme kama visa application, unaweza sema mtu upload tuseme kama profile picture yake. So hapo input uteka, input ni file, so unapo type utasema ni file. So user akikuja, so unacheki hapa hivi choose file, sasa atafinya hapa alafu ende ya choose file yake hiyo ya the passport photo and so there are many other input types depending on the data. You can take phone number, so uteka input type is equals to number. Kuna email, input type is equals to email. There are various input types that you can use depending on the data you want to acquire. So as for us, we are just going to do that and a bit of some JavaScript. So if you have not watched my video, there's a previous video I did about what is it called? It was about what? About drop-down list. There's a previous video I did about drop-down list. Kama unataka kuona how JavaScript is used, hapo nili explain kiasi, and here we are just going to do a bit of JavaScript. Okay, so I'm back. Nilikuwa nimepotea kiasi, nini yangu ilikuwa imeisha charge. Anyway, so let's continue. So I was talking about the client side validation versus the server side validation. The client side validation, at least ina save some time. Unaona, hakuna haja urisk data being sent iko incorrect, iko in invalid format, imeshafika kwa server, the server side starts processing the data, then it finds this data it's not correct, blah blah blah. So now that's a lot of time. So you can actually validate the data from the client side before it's actually sent to the server, meaning that it will reduce the chances of error entered, na faster processing will happen. So how do we do the client side validation, form validation? I'm going to introduce a bit of JavaScript. So let me call this, let me give this form a name of my form, and then yeah, I'll say on submit, I want you to do this, execute this JavaScript function. So on submit, return this function called validate, this new function that I will create called validate. So if you don't understand JavaScript, usijali. I did a video back then, yeah, data lists in HTML, and I introduced a bit of JavaScript. There I explained a bit of JavaScript, how to create a function hapa na pale. So unaweza pitia your video, I will a link, utaona iCards. I will place an iCard there and you can watch that video. You'll just have a basic understanding of JavaScript. So I'm going to introduce script. This is where we'll write our JavaScript code. And yeah, so I want to define this function that I've created, this validate function. What does that function do? So we'll say function, yenye nimeita validate. This is what will happen. This is what this function is. It's about. I want, let's say for example, I want to validate, niseme staki user ascend in username, ascend in data ikiwa blank. Unaona, I want him to send this data ikiwa na valid username. So I'm going to say if, so I want to read information from this input box. Is this input empty? If it is empty, usisubmit hii form, wacha ike kitu hapa ndani. Sasa, so if this input field, it is empty, how do we know if it is empty? We'll use the document object. So if document dot my form, this is now me reading that data from that input. My form, then we create dot this name. I will give this username a name, input type text name and the username dot username dot value. Now its value that yenye iko hapo is equals to, if it's empty, then I want you to display an alert dialog box, that says, hey, kindly enter the username. So hapa nafandikia these brackets here because I'm using the return. Kindly enter the username, and then since agenta username, kama agenta username, I want to put, nataka pengine niseme hii box focus, or tuseme tu hivyo, nataka hii cursor ijifocus hapo mali ajeka. So I will say document dot your input box dot my form dot username nataka hii focus dot focus, nataka hii focus return false. So let me try and submit this data and we see. So as you can see, nikifinya hapo kindly enter the username and nifinya okay. Nikifinya okay, as you can see automatically inajifocus ni enter hapo. Sijui kama umeona, let me do it again. Submit, kindly enter ina display this alert dialog box, because if the value ni empty, kama jeka kitu, to display this an alert message saying kindly enter the username, and then I want it to focus on that input box. So I'll say okay, and then ina focus hapo. So let's say kwa hii website yangu nime provide like a password. Hii website yangu ndo access information. Let's say nimepeana password na password yangu ni my name for that website, mseme Marlon. So you have to enter that password Marlon yenye nimekupea. If you don't know that password, then you cannot access the contents ama whatever my content yenye nimeka kwa website. So instead of hiyo data iende huko kwa server and everything ndo iconfirm. Nataka ijivalidate tu hapo kwa hiyo client side. So I'm going to add an else if now that value of the password, how do we get that value? We can use this document.myform.password. Sasa hapa kwa hii password tuipe hii name ya password dot value is equals to now your password yenye mimi nimesema, ama I can use the get element by id. That is another way of obtaining a value from something. So I can add an id. Just say add id, tufanye things different, unlike this one id. Tuseme hii id inaitwa password pass, ama tuseme tu pass, meaning password, usisahau hiyo. So let me come here. So if now I want to take that value from the password, if document dot get element by id, what am I getting from hiyo id ni gani? Hiyo yenye nimecreate sahii inaitwa pass, the pass id dot value, the value of the user ndo nataka kuretrieve yenye ameweka, dot value is equals to is equals to tuseme kama jina yangu, so nimesema hiyo password hiyo website ni Marlon, is equals to Marlon, then display an alert dialog box saying the password is correct, the password is correct, welcome to my website, welcome, the password is correct, welcome. So I'm going to say here return true, else kama password yake ni mbaya, else I want an alert dialog box iseme alert, an alert dialog box imwambie hey, password incorrect, and password incorrect, then return false. So tuseme acha ni connect form na another page ndo muone tena jaribu kusema. So I'm not going to connect it to a PHP website, I just want to connect it to another HTML page yenye nime create hapa inaitwa marlon.html. So let's say this is my website sasa, hii marlon.html. So when I come here, acha tuone venye ina work. So kindly enter the username, imeanza na hapa, kindly enter the username because iko blank. Okay, so I come and I enter here the username. Let's say David is my username, and then the password, niseme tu nimeka password yote. When I click submit, inasema the password is incorrect, meaning you cannot access this Marlon website. Okay, so wewe una password huwezi access your content. Let me try another password now, Marlon in caps, and I click submit. The password is correct, welcome. When I click OK, inanipeleka kwa main menu. This is the Marlon. Sasa inanipeleka kwa hii website. Now the Marlon, now you can access whatever I have to offer. So that is just a bit of JavaScript. It is just an introductory. I hope you understand JavaScript, how it can be used in the client side validation. Unaweza tumia hii kuvalidate actually kama email yenye imewekwa ni in the correct format. Kama hiyo email imekuwa the correct format marlon@gmail.com, unaweza tumia kuvalidate kama the whatever. So this is just a recap of what we've done to create a form. Na hiyo form nikwambia action, this is normally connected to the PHP side, and nika create a JavaScript function. Hiyo function nimeelezea hapa chini. Nika create kuna labels, na labels ndo connect na input. Unaweza tumia e4 na the id zikuwe the same, zikuwe similar, itamaanisha hiyo form iko connected, hii input iko connected to that label. Ama ukicreate label, unaweza create label alafu ndani yake uweke that input, itakuwa automatically connected between those two. We have different input types depending on the data you want to collect. We have date and time, we have colors, we have the file. We have various input types, ziko very many. Nimetumia tu password na text, but depending on the data you want, you will use the input type that you want. Kuna various attributes za input, kuna boolean attributes. Boolean attributes ni those attributes that don't have the is equal sign, kama the required boolean attribute na the, which other was that, kulikuwa na required na gani ingine, yeah, and the other one unaweza rewind video. So those are just basic attributes. Kuna min length, max length, kuna ile disabled. There are many attributes, but this is just a brief understanding of HTML form. So thank you for your time. Subscribe to learn for free.